to keep myself out of trouble. Joined by Patrick McCray, the author of the Dark Shadows Daybook. How are you, buddy?
Handsome and single.
There you go. We're here to discuss episode 1204, which is really interesting because this starts off with Melanie, who has followed Julia Collins to the tower room where she delivered food. She comes out empty-handed, no tray, and Melanie's got some questions for Julia. and we meet meet Kendrick's sister, and she's alive. Patrick, she's alive.
Isn't that wonderful? You know, I really have to question not really the sanity of the Collinses in this case, but just the baseline intelligence of them. So can we go to the spoilers already about this? Yeah, okay. So I guess she witnessed Justin go bonkers? Was that it?
Yeah, she witnessed Justin trying to kill her. Stella did.
Yeah. And, instead of saying he's crazy or paying her off, which you do with a little bit at a time, so she has to keep coming back or whatever, rather than a lump sum, and then, God knows what happens. They decide instead to involve everyone in the family almost in the criminality by kidnapping her, locking her up, and feeding her every day. This seems like a really bad plan.
Well, here's the funny. That's sort of what got me about this episode, because later on,
well, you've done it yourself.
After Melanie confronts them about letting her go, Julia magically pulls out $5,000 out of wherever she got it from, and goes, "We'll pay her off with this." I'm thinking, why the hell didn't you do that to begin with?
Yeah, it's like there's Ben Stokes with his G-string, and she just pulls out the $5,000 he made that night and says, "Here you go." Why? Yeah, indeed. Why didn't they do that in the first place? It seems like a more sensible decision, or maybe just talk to her. Mm-hmm. She might not go, but this is if Catherine had encountered this and she's still married into the family, I lose all sympathy for her.
Yeah.
Imagine how Bill Malloy would handle this if he found out. They'd all be wearing stripes.
Yeah.
It ain't right. I gotta turn you in to Sheriff Patterson.
Well, that's what gets me too. I think the reason Melanie doesn't get put in a tower room or any place isn't just because of her sister Daphne either. It's because she's going to marry Morgan.
Going to marry Morgan?
Well, Morgan's proposed to her. She's accepted.
No, Catherine's going to marry Morgan.
Yeah, Catherine. That's what I said.
You kept saying Melanie.
Did I? My apologies, Counselor.
Please.
Catherine is going to... The reason they don't lock Catherine in a tower room like they did Stella is because Catherine's going to marry Morgan.
So if Stella had agreed to marry Morgan, she could get out.
Right.
That's how I can find a wife at last.
Just agree to marry. Agree to marry Gabriel. At least he'll be half liquored up at the time. But no, why not? It's funny, we don't see...
You're dispensing increasingly bizarre advice. Keep going.
Yeah, I am. That's the thing, too. I love the fact that Christopher Peacock's character is not seen at all on this episode because he's drunk. He's liquored up in his room.
Why not? But enough reason. He hasn't been in the past 3 episodes, at least.
No, he's been in a couple, actually. And he's always drinking because he's always got this liquor hidden in every room. And I just assumed that in his room there's even more liquor hidden somewhere. It's like, instead of "Where's Waldo?" where's the booze?
Where's the booze? Yeah, Tuesdays at 8. That's Tony Danza's next series. He may be a Mormon for all I know.
But what did you think of Melanie finding out about Stella here?
Uh, I I mean, she's suitably concerned.
Yeah.
Uh, it, you know, it's the sort of thing where, as crazy as Melanie is, I don't think she's crazy enough to have done something like that. I don't. What did you think?
I thought as soon as she found Melanie and knew where Melanie was, I'm thinking, man, Melanie, because the thing with Dark Shadows is when someone finds out too much information, they're a corpse, pretty much.
Yeah,
And and I'm thinking it's only a matter of time. This girl's basically, well, she's not a walking corpse because she's sitting.
you're
So
talking about Stella.
yeah, yeah, Stella, yeah. To clarify, Stella is a sitting corpse because I mean she knows too much. She knows that Justin went crazy and tried to kill her, and plus she knows for damn well sure that Flora and Julia Collins locked her ass in the tower room.
And how long has she been up there? Like a few weeks now?
Yeah, yeah.
That's awful. That may be one of the weirdest. That is the single weirdest thing I think the Collinses have ever done.
And I love how they're just. It's not even the lie to Kendrick that kills it. It's like this episode is so crazy because Melanie when she's possessed delivers the line of the century, and I'll get into that. But when they agree to finally pay this woman off, it's like you could have just talked to her and did it, dude. Like what happened? Why didn't you just sit her down and say, hey, look, here's some cash, just keep your mouth shut?
So who was the brains behind that particular decision, do you think?
Honestly, I'm going to give them the pass, the characters, because here's why. My inclination from the writers on this, from what I gather, the episodes I've watched up until this point, going through it, rewatching it, is that they didn't really think through when they did what they did
The
at all.
writers didn't, or the Collinses didn't?
Both.
Okay. Fighting words for Sam and Gordon. Their ghosts are going to come after you.
I know. I
Because I
mean,
think it was between them at this point, wasn't it?
yeah, and here I think more it's the characters not knowing, really just not being able to think. I mean, to give them the pass they deserve, really. Justin was still mentally ill, and they were really having to worry about him. I mean, if he isn't trying to stab Stella, who would he try to stab next? So maybe that was more their concern than what she was, and so they just put her in
Hey,
the room.
what are you saying that, like, when Justin would say, "Oh man, I'm in a stabbing mood," they're going to say, "Well, at least we kept Stella around. Let's bring her down." Is that what? That's not what you mean.
Well, no, what I mean is this: is when Justin went cray cray, okay?
Yeah.
When Justin went crazy, he tries to stab Stella. Well, Julia and Flora stop him, I assume. At least that's the interpretation I'm
Yeah.
understanding. And they had to make a decision quick because they subdued Justin. They got him back into bed. They talked him down. Okay, what do you? They didn't really think of what to do. So, well, let's just put her in the tower room and we'll decide later. And they just kept her there because they didn't know what else to do with her.
But she might come in handy. It's like the soy sauce in the packet drawer. Now, my next question about all of this is that when they put Justin to bed after he tried the stabbing thing, is that when they put him in the dress? Or if we saw pictures of Justin from his sane days earlier, would he also have been in a dress?
I think the fact that Justin lost his mind, okay, they're trying to paint this. To be fair to the writers, they're trying to paint that this room is one of the most evil things Dark Shadows has ever experienced. And I do think with these episodes so far, they've got that across. I mean, from Justin being crazy and seeing this woman in white that none of us have seen yet, that all
Yeah.
that also other by the way, we finally get another appearance from the woman in white in this episode.
Keith Prentice, who sees her again.
Yeah, yes. Actually, you hear briefly, if you listen to the audio, you do hear Grayson Hall's Julia Collins say, "Oh my God." So she sees her too. Though she's not in the frame, they just show Morgan. They show Keith Prentice's face. And he
Yeah.
says, "The woman in white." It's a really good scene.
Now, these are two unrelated things. Just because Julia says, "Oh my God," I think she might have left her car keys in Justin's casket as it's being lowered down. That could be why and then he happens to see the woman in white. Maybe the two things are unrelated.
Maybe her husband left her lines in the script, in the casket. Maybe that's it.
Oh, no, she always, that was her bread and butter. That was Sam's bread and butter. She got him the job. No, Grace
Really?
got Sam the job.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was on the show first, and they needed a writer, and she said, "Well, I kind of know one," and it worked out. Yeah, everybody thinks it's this weird nepotism, and it is, but in the other direction.
Cool. I do know Grayson Hall was on the show first, but I just assumed they got Sam Hall by. I always thought they got Sam Hall by pure happenstance.
That was
Cool.
Grayson.
Cool. Cool. And so Keith Prentice says the woman in white, but before all that, you have these great conversations of Quentin, who, again, you and I have talked about this. He is the hero of this arc, and he just proves it even more here by he's trying to figure out who Melanie is possessed by, which is
Yes.
smart. And no one else. It's weird. I know we've seen very little of Bramwell after he abducts Catherine, and then she comes back, but this episode is after that, and you get Quentin who's questioning, well, if we can find out who this person is that's possessing Melanie, we can find out more about the room. And Quentin is actually the one who brings up like the 1600s, like we haven't learned anything more than what they knew then.
Yeah, I like that he's questioning that he wants to investigate it further.
Yeah, and Keith Prentice, if you notice too, he's sort of zoning out on all this. And it's like, so you're sort of wondering, is the heel turn sort of starting here? It's not completely here yet, but I sort of wondered if this is the episode where they're sort of slowly making the decision to make him the heel.
I think they knew that ahead of time. I'm not certain.
I'm not either. It's really rare when you see it because there's but though Keith Prentice does rebound with saying we're never going to get out of it, are we? We're never going to get out of the lottery, because the lottery pot has reappeared with a list of names, and then Quentin pulls the list, and it's
handwriting.
Yeah, it's him. It's Keith. Keith Prentice, Morgan Collins, Julia Collins, Flora Collins, and Gabriel. So it's the five.
And special guest star Jonathan Harris is Zachary Smith.
So it's the five of their names that are to be put in the lottery now, and not just the three sons, which is interesting because that's what Flora wanted to begin with.
The three sons to go in there?
Well, she ordered, I think it was an episode ago or two, that she ordered Morgan to, it was 2 episodes ago, so I apologize.
Include the ladies, I think.
Yeah, the Flora told Morgan, hey, make up 2 more slips for me and Julia, and Morgan wouldn't have any of that. So now the ghost, if you will, has made up not a slip, but names of who's to go in the lottery, which is really creepy. The writers do a really good job of continuing to build the terror to the lottery and to the room, especially in this episode. It's really good.
The appearance of the pot on the piano, or on the casket, rather, was a really nice supernatural moment. It's so subtle. There are no special effects that were needed. It's just something behaving in a way it shouldn't.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Do you think, like, because when I was a kid, The Undertaker was in his prime, and he had this manager named Paul Bearer
Uh-huh.
who would carry an urn. And there was one time when they had set the urn on a casket. I sort of wonder if they got that from Dark Shadows.
Maybe we would have to look up if that's a traditional thing to do.
Right. I don't know. I just thought about that, but
Well, I know when the one thing from Dark Shadows was in the in WrestleMania, the first WrestleMania, with Hulk Hogan and Mr. T, and Mr. T dressed as Dr. Julia Hoffman. He had that green kind of pantsuit that she liked. You know, it wasn't pantsuit, it was the skirt, and oh, I don't know. That's the only wrestling thing, and it's not even real.
so I
Hey,
love.
here's an impression of Mr. T on a talk show getting ready for WrestleMania 1. Did you ever see that? You know, he had that crazy bar that bent.
Yes, yes. Uh,
Let's talk about that. Anyway,
so I love Nancy Barrett's performance here as a possessed Melanie, and she comes in and she goes, "Tears will do no good," and my God, Nancy Barrett steals this episode.
yeah, and she does a good thing where, as the unpossessed Melanie, you know, I think she really ups the bimbo factor so that when she is possessed, the difference is that much interesting. It's a very unpredictable moment, and I think it's a wonderful series of clues by the writers.
I like how when Flora starts crying when Melanie's possessed and she's flirting with Quentin, and she's like, "You're the most handsome one here of them all, aren't you?" And Flora's like, "Oh, Melanie."
Don't go down that road, even though you're adopted. Just don't go down that road.
Well, she's possessed though too, which is really good. I mean, it just fits, and
If you adopt someone who's possessed, are you also adopting the spirit that possesses them? Or if a spirit that possesses someone, do they inhabit someone in the hopes that it will count as adoption? Is
well,
there legal precedent for this?
that's a good question. I have no
It
idea.
is. I don't know. Judge Wapner would have known.
Here's my question for you with the possession. If if they could have found out here in this episode that she was possessed by Amanda, okay,
Mm-hmm.
do you think they would have been able to stop this?
No. How? How would they have? I mean, you may know, but how would they have stopped it?
I don't. I'm just
Just reasoning with the ghost of Amanda, because
well,
it, as I remember, Catherine refuses to choke Barnum, Bromwell, or Bromwell refuses to choke Catherine, and that's what breaks the curse, right?
right.
Okay, so somebody would have to be convinced to choke someone else and then decide not to.
Okay.
That seems to be the secret.
So if she because Melanie's possessed, she's trying to kill other people. If she would have stopped, she would have said just no of her own free will. That would have broke the curse.
I think it would have, yeah, she would have only she could have only been partially possessed.
Right.
You know, it had to be a little part of the real Melanie still there to exercise that control.
Yeah. And there really there isn't. When Melanie's Melanie, she like starts yelling at Quentin, "Why did you have father's funeral and not have me there?" And he's like, "Don't you remember what happened?" And Quentin tells her. I mean, he does the right thing.
And
David Selby
door
just,
on her.
yeah, he.
Keep going, and then I have a question for you.
I love how right here he's telling her the truth, because you're getting a Collins family member. Just, hey, let's be honest. If we can be honest and finally try to figure out maybe who she is, this maybe we can stop this. David Selby's Quentin gives the audience all the hope in the world throughout these episodes.
He does. He does. Um, yeah, yeah. However, Mike. Okay, so then he locks Melanie up. Is the rest of the series just going to be him telling people sort of the truth, asking them hard questions, and then locking them up in a room until everyone's locked in a room except for him?
No, I think the only reason they're locking Melanie up is because she's trying to kill people. No one else that we've seen, other than Justin, and he's gone, has been trying to kill people. So now that Justin's dead, and you get it again, too, you get a sighting from the woman in white. We don't get to see her, obviously. Keith Prentice does, for whatever reason.
Because he's special.
Yeah, he's special.
Better than we.
But I don't think he's gonna lock everybody up in a room, because if he was honestly gonna do that, why doesn't he do it to Daphne? Why doesn't he do it to Catherine? He has an opportunity.
Well, it's just a matter of time. It's one Collins at a time. and then eventually he's going to pass one, and it's going to be bars on the door, and it'll be Charlton Heston in a loincloth saying it's a madhouse.
Oh my God. Yeah, why not? But what did you think of Quentin locking up Melanie?
Well, I guess he has to do it, but it felt like sort of a betrayal. I mean, when in that scene is he planning on locking her up? What's the moment? And I don't know. I felt kind of bad for Melanie. Yes, okay, she's going around trying to kill people. You know, if you have guests in the home, these things will happen. But yeah, of course he did the right thing. He's the picture of sanity. You know, David Selby is managing to be interesting in the dullest part you could have, which is what we call in literature the normative character, the character who establishes what's normal and reasonable so that the other characters can bounce off of them.
Did Julia Collins act real shady throughout this episode?
If she were any shadier, she would be on someone's head on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Grayson does that well. You know, all the parallel time Grayson halls are kind of weasels.
Yeah, I love how when Melanie's saying about Stella, they're standing there, and Julia looks at Flora as almost to say, "Yeah, go ahead and talk and tell her what we did." And it's like, what's going on here? What's up with Julia Collins? Is she like planning something? It's like, and then when she pulls out that 5,000, I'm thinking, are you really gonna give that woman that 5,000? Or are you just gonna magically open the door and let
I
Mel?
mean, how much was that? Yeah, that had to be close to what today would be, I don't know, 70 or 80 grand. That has to be a lot of money back then. It's not just $5,000. I mean, that's $5,000 in 1840 currency, not only 1840 currency, but 1840 parallel time currency, which you can't use in real life. I tried, and that didn't go well.
I sort of think Julia Collins may have unlocked Stella's tower door, and let Melanie in
to watch them fight.
I mean, I hate to say that but the character's just so shady in this episode.
She's running. It's like glow in there for her. It's like ladies are wrestling. What's going to happen next? Stella versus Melanie. Stellany.
What did you think? What did you think of Melanie banging on the door at the end. Let me in. Let me in.
It's a wonderfully horrifying moment. That, seeing a character that you care about gleefully trying to harm themselves. It's like watching Quentin, dig his own grave at the end of the Ragnarok sequence. It's very disturbing when we've seen the enemy and he is us, that literally.
There's another. Well, I want to ask you this too before I get my points here. Do you think that the Collinses didn't realize how powerful the ghost really was? Because we've seen ghosts, especially here in this parallel time, because in the other band of time, we've seen ghosts unlock doors and just do some strange shit. But these Collinses are so unaware of the ghost's power, right? Oh, what happened? Hello? Oh, Kurt. Patrick!
Yeah. Wait, hold on. There's a ring. What should
Hello?
I do? Answer it or not answer it? I don't know. Now Skype is gone. Wait a minute. It says he's here.
Hello?
But I can't figure out, where is he?
I'm here.
Jewel, is this being recorded? I think it is.
It is.
So here we are. So I had a thought.
Good.
And that's this, because I think I'm on my own on this recording. I think so. Everybody likes to defend. Well, not everybody likes it. A lot of people like to defend that early pre-Barnabas material on the show. And I've even heard things like, well, if you don't appreciate